Welcome to another show. We've a great interview coming up later on with Polly Scattergood, who has a new album out at the moment. More of that later on. But first, the best of Livestream gigs in Camden Town this week. First, this evening, Sunday the 9th of August, another Spiritual Bar Livestream session is on. This week, featuring singer-songwriter Graaw. The track Down to Earth, performed by the artist Graaw, who is on at the Spiritual Bar Livestream show this evening, Sunday, the 9th of August. To tune in, head to their Facebook page, and we'll put the link below the show. Okay, so now on to our special guest this week, who is Polly Scattergood. And Polly has a new album out at the moment, and that album is called In This Moment. Polly joined us earlier this week to tell us about the album and her life and career. Here's the story.
Hello.
Hi, it's Howard here from Camden Town Radio.
Hi Howard, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. It's great to speak to you, and thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Great. Now, we must ask you, first off, how have you been finding the lockdown situation?
Wow, it's crazy, huh?
Yes.
I mean, it's just really a different way of life, isn't it? Just having to slow everything down and
Yes.
not kind of going out and socialising in the way that we were all so used to doing.
That's right.
It's completely. I mean, I've grown a flower for the first time in my life.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I
think it's been quite popular gardening. I know I've been in my garden more than I usually would at this time, so I think it's got people out in the garden a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely not ever. It's not something that I've ever really had time to like focus on and concentrate on, and then suddenly, there's no touring, there's nothing going on in that respect. So I was like, I might try and grow something. So, but my neighbour did come around and said that I was watering weeds the other day, so I wasn't quite sure. I don't think it's going amazingly, but yeah.
Have you been planting anything in particular, or?
Well, I tried like vegetables, like carrots and things like that. but I didn't put the label where they're supposed to go.
Okay.
Like, I didn't think to label them. So now I don't know what I'm growing, which is why I'm watering weeds at the same time as the vegetables. But my daughter had been like watering plastic plants for the last 3 or 4 months. So I was like, I really need to sort this out. But yeah.
All right, great. Well, we'll maybe start with how you started out your career, really. So you were born in Wivenhoe, Essex, and you grew up near Colchester.
I did, yeah. I lived in Essex for the first 16 years of my life, and then I moved up to London. I went to Brit School.
Oh yes.
So yeah, so I moved to kind of South London, Croydon, and lived there while I was at Brit School in a funny little bedsit.
So I believe you're from quite an artistic background. Is that correct?
I am, yeah. Most of my family are kind of doing, my mum is an artist, my dad an actor.
All right.
And so, yeah, they were both kind of doing their own things
Yes.
before me.
So that sort of got you in the art mode, would you say? Or?
Well, my dad always said to me, just whatever you do, just like get yourself a trade and get a regular income. And I wish that I had listened to him, you know.
Well, you got yourself a trade with music.
Yeah, well, I don't know, 20 years on, I'm like, God, he was actually really talking some truth there. But yeah, they were both like working artists, and they very much, all they wanted for me was, I guess, just happiness and, you know, to find something that I enjoyed doing. I guess maybe it was slightly inevitable because, you know, when you're surrounded by like art and creativity, I guess it just kind of is in your blood, isn't it? But I think, you know, living in a house, there were always like records around and instruments around and stuff. So I think that definitely gave me a good grounding to becoming a musician.
Yes. So there must have been quite a lot going on in Colchester to have got you to the point where you were able to attend the Brit School. You must have been, quite active with gigs and things like that early on?
Well, I mean, I did write a lot of, like, I was a massive songwriting, geek, and I basically spent my entire, like, teenage years just, like, holed up writing music, and I got into Brit School. I didn't pass any of the like music theory exams to get into Brit School, but I basically bought like 8 lyric books, which were completely filled with lyrics, and was like, I have to go here because I couldn't get onto my local music course because I didn't have the relevant music grades because I hadn't ever studied music in a like conventional way.
Okay.
So I was unable to study locally, and Brit School was like the only free performing arts school in the country, and so it was really the only option that I had in terms of studying music. And so I kind of showed them all of the lyric books that I had, you know, accumulated. And I mean, I was gigging a little bit, but I wasn't really in a band in Colchester. I did a few like local gigs and stuff, but the main thing that I was kind of obsessed with was lyrics and writing and words and stuff. And when I went to Brit School, it wasn't to become like a artist myself. It was more to write for other people.
Okay, right. How many songs did you have written by that sort of time? Was it quite a large amount?
I had about 800 when I got to Brit School.
Oh, right. Very large amount, yes.
Yeah, it became a bit of an addiction. Like I would just write every day, you know, after school. I'd just come home and I was just really into like language and words and stuff. And
so you had a great portfolio you could present to them at the Brit School.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't really releasable material, but it was, you know, I was just learning and I was just eager to learn, and the Brit School kind of facilitated that, and they were brilliant and just kind of helped me find my way, I guess.
And the Brit School, we'll explain to listeners that the likes of, as well as yourself, Adele, Katie B, Jessie J, Katie Mellower, Kate Nash, it has a very long list of luminaries.
Yeah, it's a great place to study. You know, it's so many people from completely different walks of life all coming together because they have like a love for, you know, music or art or theatre or whatever. Everyone is studying their own thing, and So it's a really special place to be. Very lucky I felt to have been able to go there, because, like I said, it was kind of the only place that I could have studied for free.
And what was it actually like at the school? Because we had somebody on recently who had been to Sylvia Young's school, and they told us all about that, but we've not yet had somebody on who's been to the Brit school, so we're quite interested, just sort of day to day, what it was like there, really.
It was just very, like, vibrant and full of young people who really were, like, excited to be there and had a passion for something, which I think is, you know, it's kind of makes for a special place.
Yes.
There was no, I don't know, everyone who had kind of different talents as well, so it was good, and a lot of the time was just spent really not in a conventional, like, lesson situation.
Right.
You know, we were often just, like, sent off to collaborate with each other, and I think that's kind of a great way to learn, isn't it, collaborating?
Yes, that's right, yes. And did you meet some very good contacts there that sort of helped you get started in the industry?
I mean, so when I was at Brit School, my manager at the time, I found him through Brit School.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it helped in that way, but I think it also just gave a good, like, grounding, and sort of the whole. It wasn't like a starry place, like I think it's sometimes made out to be. It was much more about just really learning your craft and getting good at it, you know.
And it's based in Croydon, is that right?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yes.
So in Selhurst, so just on the outside of Croydon.
And you were saying earlier
I lived there for a little while.
Yeah, you were saying earlier you moved down there from home. So you went to first time living away from home. Down there.
I was 16, got a little job in the Saints and Sinners in Croydon, and it went from there.
Is that a bar, is it?
Yeah, it's a pub. I'm not sure if it's there anymore.
Okay. You were talking about a flat you moved into around there.
Yeah. I had a little, I lived in a few flats around there. I was a student, so I was kind of in and out of different places. Yeah, we had one place that had no furniture in it.
Oh, right.
But, they were all kind of close to school, and we had a lot of fun.
There'd be plenty of space for musical instruments then if there was no furniture.
Yeah, well, I say there was no furniture. There was a massive sound system and a lot of guitars.
Oh, right.
We had like a blow-up sofa, and I slept on a camp bed for quite a long time. But yeah, it was fun. But then I slowly moved my way up actually, up to North London, and it ended up in Kentish Town. And
right, okay.
And your neck of the woods.
Yes. So what year are we in now? We're in sort of 2008, around that time?
Yeah, so first album came out in 2009, so I had just left Brit School a few years before that.
Oh, right.
My first album came out when I was living in Streatham.
Ah, okay.
Oh, no, I was living in Kentish Town, actually, I think, when it came out.
Yes.
And then just opposite the Forum on Highgate Road.
Oh, yes.
In a little flat in the attic, And, lived there for a lot of years. I was there for over 10 years, I think.
Oh, right. Well, it sounds a very good location, being close to that venue, but also only a short walk from the rest of Camden Town.
Oh, I loved it, yeah. It's very much like my little home, Kentish Town. It was all of my friends. I made a lot of good friends there, and actually met my husband there.
Oh, right. Well.
I'd walk into Camden, my little route would be down Kentish Town High Road and along the lock into Camden, and have a little wander around. And I haven't been back for a little while, actually. What's it like in lockdown? Is it very quiet, or is it kind of carrying on as normal?
It was for a long time. I think once the market opened, that was a really good point, because it started to bring people back in. What there's been actually in the Camden Market area, they've done some open air gigs actually.
Oh, cool.
So when you moved there around 2009 and your first album was coming out, so were you kind of a regular in a lot of the Camden venues and things like that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I played the kind of bars and stuff.
Yeah.
The one opposite the Roundhouse.
Yes, opposite the Roundhouse.
Opposite the Roundhouse.
The Monarch bar.
I played the Monarch a couple of times, but it's the other one that I was thinking of. It has like an upstairs.
Oh, I know the one. Is it the Oxford? Camden Assembly now, yes. It used to be known as Barfly, that was it, yes.
Yeah, that was it, yeah.
Yes,
played
Barfly.
Barfly many a time. And
Yes.
I played the Monarch a few times.
Okay.
And,
Oh, yes, because those...
I was going to say, I actually played quite recently. We did a warm-up gig in Spiritualize for
yes.
On Dead Way. Not Spiritualize, Spiritual Bar.
Yes, Spiritual Bar, yes.
Yeah, and that was really fun. We played a warm-up gig, and then we did the Roundhouse a couple of weeks later, so it was fun. It was a secret gig, so...
Yeah, it started to become very popular, the Spiritual Bar, yes. A lot of people
it's so nice.
talking about it, and it's a kind of venue where new and aspiring artists, they can play their own music without feeling pressured to play sort of commercial music, things like that. So
it was super chilled and really tiny and secret and just lovely. It was one of my favourite gigs. I did it with my side project actually, and it was just under sort of a secret thing just to warm up for the gig the following week, and it was great.
Have you played Green Notes as well? Is that one?
I have, a long time ago, I think.
Yes, that's another.
I played most of the Camden venues because it was. I like that I could walk home afterwards.
Well, Dublin Castle as well, or?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Back in the day.
Now, your surname is quite an interesting one. I mean, I do like the name because it's quite a distinctive name. So, and it actually it sounds like it could be a stage name, even though it is your real name, isn't it?
Yeah, a few people actually said that it was a fake name in the press a while ago.
No, it is your real name. Yes. Do you know the origins of the name? Or?
So, it's originally from so my dad's family are all from around the northeast, like around Newcastle and Hartlepool.
Yeah.
But then somebody traced it back to a lot of Scattergoods went over to America.
Oh, right. Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, the truth is I don't exactly know where it's from, but I know that there's a lot more Scattergoods in the northeast than there are in the southeast.
And some in America.
But, I was looking up to see what it meant, and apparently it means here today and gone tomorrow.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't think it is. But yeah.
Maybe it means sort of make the most of today, perhaps.
That's a good way of putting it. I like that for sure.
Yes.
When I was younger, I was like, why don't I just have a easy to spell short name? But now I'm like, you know what? That's mine.
Yes. It reminds me that the first word I think of is scattercushion, I think, when I...
Oh, that's nice. That's
read
very,
it,
homey.
Yes. Maybe that might be a merchandise idea you could...
Oh, scattercushion.
Yes. Could be.
I think I need to tidy up my house before that happens, but yeah.
So, your first album we've touched on earlier, which was released in 2009, it was self-titled, Polly Scattergood. And then in 2013, your next album, Arrows, was released. You had a sort of hiatus of 7 years after that, but then this year, 2020, your new album, In This Moment.
Yeah. My new album, In This Moment, it came out in July, at the start of July.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of a good time, I think, to be releasing an album during lockdown times.
It felt like the right time to come out. It was scheduled earlier in the year, but then we couldn't, because it was just as lockdown happened when it was originally scheduled for, we couldn't work out how to get the product actually out, because no one was sure on shipping or anything like that. So we moved it to July, and it was really, it was such a great distraction during what was, I guess, a really super unsettling time. It was great to kind of be able to throw myself into just getting it out into the world, and I wanted to make sure that all of the art and the music and everything was interlinked, so it all told a story and had a purpose.
Yes, in fact, we were going to ask you that about the album. So the album cover has yourself with a sphere, which looks like a crystal ball, perhaps, or something like that. But yes, we were under the impression that there is a theme running throughout the album. So do you want to explain a bit more about the album In This Moment and the concept behind it?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to use circles and graphics and layers to represent the worlds.
Yeah.
The whole album, it's all about 12 moments, 12 snapshots in time, ripples, worlds within worlds, and the tracks on the album are all kind of centered around reflecting on certain moments in time.
Yes.
And so for the album cover, I wanted to put my head into a bubble or my own world and be holding another sphere or world, which I like that they were reflecting each other, and they were also reflecting the room that I was in, that I where the photograph was taken.
Yes.
And at one point somebody said, "Oh, why don't we take out that reflection in the glass?" And I thought, no, I want to keep it in because it's reflecting out into another world, you know.
Right. Okay,
So yeah, that was kind of the idea behind the artwork, just trying to like visually represent what the album was about. I was very inspired. I don't know if you know of an artist called Kent Rogowski.
Okay.
He did a project called the Future Perfect Project, and he made these really beautiful snow globes, and they were like a snapshot of really private, intimate moments encapsulated within each snow globe. So it was like every moment was like preserved inside this beautiful sphere. And I saw his work, and some of it's quite sad, you know, like there's a woman sitting on a bed and a man with his back to her, and you kind of wonder like what that moment was. And when I saw this work, I was like, wow, this is really, I don't know, it inspired me a little bit, if I'm honest. And that's, I guess, where the artistic inspiration came from. Just looking at his project, it's called Future Perfect for anybody who's listening who wants to check it out, because it's really beautiful. He did it a while ago, but he does really great
Yes. All right, sounds great. So yes, as we thought, there was a sort of theme running throughout the album, and the songs, I guess there's a mixture. We've had a listen, and there's a mixture of sort of more up-tempo songs and then some sort of slower tempo. So was that kind of purposeful to sort of do a mixture of, you know, there's points where the album's getting louder and faster, and then sort of slow it down with lower tempo numbers? Was that sort of a, you know, to create that whole feel of things changing?
So, I mean, it was never a thought-through thing that I wrote the album. I began writing it, bits and pieces of it in Camden, actually, in our studio that we had. And then I moved to Fuerteventura and continued writing it. And then I moved to the Kent Coast, and that's where I wrote the bulk of it.
Right.
And so I think the movement and the changes in environment kind of definitely affected different parts of the album and the pace of it. And when I'm writing an album, I know some people go into a studio and they're like, okay, I'm writing an album and it's going to sound like this, or it's going to have this vibe to it. But that's not really how I write. I just write the whole time because I love songwriting. And I only decided that it would become an album actually when I had almost got a lot of the songs, you know, when I was living in Kent, because then I was like, oh, you know, there's sort of a collection of songs here that I think are actually releasable quality.
As well as your new album, you've got quite an active shop with all sorts of merchandise on there.
Yeah, it's been really fun actually. For this album, it's kind of it's the first album that I've ever put out on my own label.
Yes.
So I started Future Paradise a little while ago, and I have really enjoyed just like creating stuff for it, really, and working with people who can kind of come up with beautiful designs for the merchandise and stuff. Rachel Bungie did the designs for the t-shirts, and she did all the artwork on the album, and then we sort of transferred that onto the t-shirts. And the shop's been really fun, just getting it all up online. I did a lot of handwritten books, which basically had the lyrics to the album written by hand. And I had this, so I think it was on Arrows, I started doing the handwritten books, and I just keep them really limited edition, like 30, or, you know, always under 50, and just put them online. And then the thing is that they take so long to write, but they're such nice like things to have and keep and stuff, so I really enjoy kind of making them, but they're not something I can do all the time. But I've done like a photography and line lyrics and line book that goes alongside the album as well, which is on the website, which that was really fun to make as well.
The music has been described as electropop and also ethereal. Would you agree with those descriptions?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it just changes. You know, I write. What I would like to think is that it's interesting.
Yes.
You know, I feel like I hope that I put out music that people can listen to, and then they'll listen to again and maybe hear something different. I know that I get that out of, you know, the things that I enjoy are things that sort of have layers and textures, and you can listen to when you're in one moment, and then you can put it on a month later when you're in a completely different mood and get something else out of it, and hear different things dependent on what your vibe is. And I would like to think that that's the kind of album that it is, you know.
Yes, well, we've enjoyed listening to it, and we found it's a good album for lockdown.
Much. Oh, cool.
Yes,
I'm happy to hear this.
Yeah, we found it, I think, I mean, today, you know, some artists are more single orientated, but I've always been a fan of albums, and I do like to put on an album and have the whole thing on. Maybe, you know, you're listening to the thing as a whole rather than just one or two tracks, and it has a nice feel of a album, of a set of, you know, thematic songs. And
I'm so happy that you said that, because I feel the same way when I listen to a record. Like, I really enjoy hearing it. Like, it's nice to be able to dip in and out of different things, but I like hearing the whole thing as well, you know, listening. I have somebody actually who follows me online who's like, I kept on posting, you know, different singles, and he was like, I'm saving myself for the whole album so I can listen to it from start to finish. Like, I can see that you're posting singles, but I'm not going to listen to them. And I have so much respect for that kind of way of thinking, because it does give you a different experience. And I know when I listen to things as a whole, you hear it with different ears, you know. And
I think particularly when the songs are linked, it's nice to listen to it in one go, isn't it?
We really wanted it to have a feel of being real as well, and obviously the title is In This Moment, and we did a lot of field recordings of, you know, like fires crackling or breaths, and we spent a long time, you know, making them, you know, processing sounds and recording things that were part of our day-to-day life and putting them on the record. I wanted all of the drums and all of the textures and layers to feel as if they were alive, and so there are moments of imperfection, you know, and I think on Arrows I spent a long time trying to get everything in time and kind of perfect, whereas for this record I really wanted it to have that human imperfection and just feel like real and honest. And so we, you know, the arpeggiated sounds and stuff were all played in by hand, and just I wanted it to breathe like a piece of music.
Yes, it makes sense. So you had quite a gap before releasing your latest album, In This Moment, which is out now. So during that time, I believe you took somewhat of a hiatus, but it was partly due to you were starting a family at that time.
Yeah, well, I mean, I did quite a lot in between albums, but it seems like a little while ago. So Arrows came out, and I was living in Kentish Town, and I was a little bit like slightly lost, I suppose, just trying to work out what to do after that record, because it was a record that felt like it came with a bit of pressure.
Yes.
And it just, it left me feeling a tiny bit,
but
drained.
Then,
drained is a good word. It just trying to work out what to do next, and then
well, there can be pressure on a follow up, certainly from your first album. It can be.
I don't think I realised at the time that it was pressure that was making me feel that way, but I think now with hindsight that is what it was. It was just this kind of wanting to do well, you know, wanting to make the best thing that I could make, and I guess sort of blurring the lines in a way between like what I love and I guess trying to like have a commercial album as well. Some of the tracks on Arrows were a bit more kind of like poppy, and trying to be more in that kind of like field genre, I guess. I don't think it was particularly intentional, but I think because I slightly delved into that world with the sound of it, it was just a bit, I don't know, I just needed a bit of time out basically to work out what I wanted. And then I actually met, I knew James Chapman, who is Maps, and he he became a really good friend. We did a collaboration for the Mute Short Circuit Festival in Camden, actually.
All right.
And he became really good friends, and we recorded an album, which was a side project called On Dead Waves.
Okay.
And so that came out in between album 2 and album 3.
Yeah.
And then after that, I moved to Fuerteventura and had a baby.
That must have been quite a change, moving.
Huh?
Must have been quite a change, not only starting a family, but also moving overseas. That must have been quite a big...
Yeah, well, I moved overseas before I had Sienna. We moved to a little place called Catillo in Fuerteventura, which is like in the north part of the island, and it's really beautiful and barren, and just lots of desert and open roads and space. And I moved from I was living on Tufnell Park Road, just off the Holloway Road, and I moved from there to this little place where I would open the window and goats would walk past my window instead of a 390. It was really weird. Wow. But it was I have my daughter who's 3 now. Quite a busy few years in between albums, but it's nice to kind of get this new album out into the world, because it feels like it's been quite a long time in the making now. Yes,
I think a very good time to release the album, because hopefully in a few months' time touring will restart, and then you'll be able to get out and get performing some gigs again.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think, I said years ago, I love the idea of doing like virtual. I mean, I've done a couple of the live stream. I've been doing the attic sessions from my attic, actually.
Oh yeah, I think I spotted that. Yes.
Yeah, so I've been doing a few gigs, and there's some more attic sessions coming out shortly. But
Okay, so I'm just going to ask you a bit about your influences now. Now, you've been compared to, the likes of Kate Bush, Enya, amongst others. I believe that you grew up listening to artists such as Leonard Cohen and Suzanne Vega. So would you say you have influences from all those musicians?
Yeah, I mean, I listen to a lot of music. I try and listen to lots of different sounds. Leonard Cohen and people who write, really lyrical things are definitely artists that have inspired me, for sure.
Yeah.
But I feel like I enjoy watching films, and I enjoy watching series, and I feel like I often hear like soundtracky things as well, which kind of inspire me, and like that kind of widescreen sound I find quite I don't know, I'm forever listening, watching things, and then shazamming like, what's this sound and what's this track? And I would say that watching films has been a big influence as well.
Yeah. Now, just coming on to the musicians that you work with, I noticed there seems some very good musicianship on this album. So have you used the same musicians throughout your albums, or are the musicians in this moment, are they a different set of musicians that you brought together for this album?
So for my first album, I had a group of guys who were playing in my band who were just brilliant and wonderful, but they are all off living in different parts of the country doing different things. So for Arrows, I met Glenn Kerrigan. He became my husband, but when I met him on Arrows, he was a co-writer and a producer, and he writes music basically, and he's a sound designer.
Yes.
So he was an integral part of this album, and we worked on Arrows together, and then obviously he produced this whole album. So he was kind of like the main collaborator that I kind of bounced every idea off that I had, and he sculpted the album into what it is.
Right.
And then I worked, so James Chapman and Matt Kelly, who played on the album, Matt played drums and James played guitar.
Okay.
They are On Dead Waves, so they're my side project.
Right.
Me and James wrote the On Dead Waves album together, and James is Maps. So that's his project, and he just had an album out quite recently, which is super beautiful. And then the co-writers that I worked with on the album, are Jim Sklavanos, who he has played in loads of incredible bands. He's currently in Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, and he is just one of the best lyricists and writers I've ever worked with. Like, his use of language is insane. Yeah. And so I did a co-writing session with him on one of the first sort of songs that ended up being an album track, and yeah. He brought this amazing spirit to the record. He just kind of told me to stop thinking too much about what it's going to be and just enjoy the moment and just write, keep writing. Yeah. And so, yeah, he was very much an integral part of the album and the writing process. Yes. And then, Glenn co-wrote, a lot of the record as well. So
yes. Well, it sounds a good process, because then you get quite an organic album, quite a natural sounding.
Yeah, I feel like working with people who you trust and who have their own ideas. I used to kind of shy away from it, I think, on my first record especially, but now I feel like it's crucial, like it's completely key to getting a record that sounds good, and it's good to work with people who challenge you and say, think about that line, what do you want to say, how do you want it to come across? And so I it's a small team, but I trust them, and I think that's really key especially for the writing process.
Yeah.
I have a remix EP that's coming out on Friday.
Oh, right.
So that's called Remixes Part 2.
Yes.
And it's got some remixes. It's got a remix by Chris Liebing.
Okay, yeah.
Who's remixed In This Moment.
Yeah.
And also Simon Fisher-Turner, who produced my first album.
Right.
And Can Love Be Synth, who have just done this beautiful, warm remix. And that's coming out on Friday, which I'm super excited to have out. Remixes are kind of brilliant, because it's like they take this baby that you've been working on for all this time and then just switch it up, and suddenly it sounds completely different.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to getting that out into the world.
Where can people get that? The usual locations?
It will be available in all the usual places. It's a digital release, so it's not going to be physically available, but it will be on iTunes, Spotify, and Apple Music. And if you follow on Spotify, then you will get a notification, and it will be sent to you.
All right, that's great. But you've got plenty of physical format albums, and they're available on your website.
We've got lots of signed vinyls and CDs and personalised bits and pieces. So if anybody wants to get any little treasures, there's a few limited edition bits left. I'm not quite sure how much clear vinyl is left, but there's definitely still some on the store for anybody that wants some.
Yes, and the website is polly-scattergood.com?
My website is pollyscattergood.com.
Yes.
And then if you click on that, there's a link to the store.
Okay, Polly, well, we've been chatting quite a while now, so I guess I better let you go and get a cup of tea on and put the kettle on.
Well, my name is Polly, so I've got a lot of experience in that.
That's very true, yes. Well, maybe a cold drink would be better, because it is quite hot weather.
For sure.
Oh, great. Well, just before you go, Polly, we have a very quick 10-question quiz where it's called Favourite 10. It's a feature of the show. It only lasts 1 minute. Here we go. Favourite film?
Favourite film is called Rust and Bone, and it's a really beautiful one with Marianne Cotillard in it.
Okay. Favourite book?
Leonard Cohen, Book of Longing.
Favourite food?
Sushi. Probably, sushi.
Okay. Favourite place to go on holiday?
Favourite place in the world, Fuerteventura, or Costa Rica, or Gili Islands, or Bali.
Plenty.
I don't know. I've got a lot of favourite places.
Yeah. Favourite terrain, countryside or town?
Oh, I'm a beach girl. Can that be an option?
Go on then, you can have beach, yes.
Thank you.
Favourite pet?
My dog, Maggie.
Okay. Favourite tree?
Apple trees.
Right. Favourite type of flower?
Love in the Mist.
Favourite style of music?
Soundscapey, experimental, with words.
Finally, favourite song?
Suzanne, Leonard Cohen.
Right. Fantastic. Well, thanks, Polly. It was a pretty good time there, and you answered all 10. Well, thanks, Polly, for speaking to us today. It's been fascinating to talk to you about your new album and we wish you all the best with future shows.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. Hi, my name is Polly Scattergood, and you are listening to Camden Town Radio. I've just had a new record out. It's called In This Moment, and I really look forward to getting out and playing it very soon to all of you. Thanks so much to everybody who's been listening to the record and sending me messages, and I hope that you are all enjoying listening to the record and keep on rocking.
The track Red by Polly Scattergood, and that track is on Polly's new album, In This Moment. It's out now, and we'll put the links on where you can find it below the show. The track Red, which you heard there, actually extends to 7+ minutes on the album itself, so why not check it out now? And thanks so much to Polly for joining us as this week's special guest. Okay, so back to what's on in Camden Livestream this week. And this Wednesday, Graaw are hosting one of their Livestream events once more. This week featuring Vincent, Satcher and Beth Nielsen Chapman.
You can say you love me, and I'll believe that's true. Trusting you is easy, 'cause I believe in you. There is nothing I would miss as long as we're in love like this. All I have is all I need, and it all comes down to you and me. How far away this world becomes in the harbor of each other's arms. I feel like I've known you forever and ever. Baby, that's how close we are. Right here with you is where my life has come together, and where love has filled my heart. You know I'd go anywhere as long as I have you to care. All I have is all I need, and it all comes down to you and me. How far away this world becomes in the harbor of each other's arms. Ooh, and with the love you bring, I never want for anything. I found what I've been searching for in you. All I have is all I need, and it all comes down to you and me. How far away this world becomes in the harbor of each other's arms.
The track All I Have, performed by Beth Nielsen Chapman, who is performing this Wednesday the 12th of August on a Graaw live stream evening, along with Vincent and Satcher. And there's more from Green Note this Friday, the 21st of August. This time, the lineup is Chris Smither, Peter Mulvey, and the band, the Suitcase Junket. We hope you've had a great week, wherever you are. Next week, we'll have news of some in-person gigs once more in Camden Town. In the meantime, wherever you are, and whatever you're doing, keep rocking.
Getting stronger and always climbing.